Hello everyone, great to have you. So, I have always been a nerd. I don't know if you can tell it by looking at me. Is that rude to say? I don't know. But all my life, I've always been a nerd or a nerdy person. Since my early childhood, I was always interested in, nerdy things in general. Certain movies, certain activities, certain interests, I guess. And I'm quite proud of that, I suppose, I suppose being a nerd nowadays is quite respectable in some way. I like it, it's quite a unique I guess occasion in our history where people are being kind of open about their obsessions and quirks and things like this. So if you are very interested in some specific thing, very specific, very niche thing, I guess it's being kind of encouraged, right? Which is, I think it's absolutely fine if it doesn't, do anyone harm, then why not, right? So, I have prepared a list of nerdy questions to ask you, and just want to know your opinion on those, right? Now you can actually post your answers, in the comment section, the comment section below, and I will be very happy to read all of these and can have a chat, I suppose. Although, when it comes to nerdy questions, I think people get quite divided, because when it comes to certain interests, right, like people can like the same thing but in different ways, and it's these ways that actually make us make the largest portion of our interest, I suppose. So tonight, while we are talking about this and all of these things, I just want you to bear in mind that, it's alright to have different opinions, and of course, my views are not. I shouldn't even, I guess, say this, I guess it's quite obvious that my views are just my views, right? Nothing else. There is no implication of being right about any of my views, no matter how I think, how right I think my views are. So, although I suppose I'm quite, what's the word? It's like flexible, I guess, when it comes to certain ideas. Like, I am willing to try to understand people, and I like to argue, but generally, it's cool that people can have different opinions and stuff, and I think that's what makes life interesting, if we all could agree on, like, certain thing, on everything, right, then what's the point, right? Are we all being like one person? Is there free will? You get now, right, why I'm a nerd, I guess. So, let's start with a couple of questions now. My nose is itchy, I'm sorry. as it's not cool as coffee. You know, coffee is for cool kids in town, right? But tea is the nerd drink. That's my first controversial opinion, right? Tea is the nerd drink. Another thing is this little chocolate bar. You're hearing the first non-whisper trigger on this channel. A chocolate bar, right? Chocolate bar. What can we do with it? We can do some tapping. That doesn't really work. But I like the crackly sort of noises here that it makes. A chocolate bar. Love chocolate. This is actually a Russian brand of chocolate. It's dark chocolate. It says 70% cocoa Russian chocolate. It's called Россия щедрая душа, which means Russia generous soul. If I'm not mistaken, it's quite an old brand of chocolate in Russia, and it was, you know, some cocoa beans were imported from Cuba at some points, and maybe still are imported from there. But I suppose we might be growing some cocoa beans somewhere in Russia. I don't know. So that's another thing. Now I'll try to open it, and I hope it doesn't make any annoying sounds. But let's see. We did it. So we'll be eating some chocolate as we go. Now, you know, here is a piece for you. My hands are clean. I washed them just before that, right? Now take your chocolate. Take your chocolate. Okay, take it. Come on. You don't want any chocolate. Come on. Ooh, it's honestly, I can actually feel the smell, you know, the chocolate. Well, alright, like, it's for you, right? It's for you. Here we go. Alright, I'm gonna take another one for myself and pretend it's not the same piece of chocolate that I've just given you, right? Ooh, what a lovely piece of chocolate here. Wow. It's great. It's great. A lovely piece of chocolate. Okay, let's does it snap? It kinda does, I'm not sure. I promise we will get to the questions. I really like chocolate, actually. Okay. Let's wash it down with a sip of tea. That's great. You know, as I'm getting older, I'm almost 26. It's funny phrase to say, right? As I'm getting older, I suppose I look quite young, but well, you know, I do feel like I should start like eating less sugar, and so actually, I used to eat only milk chocolate, but now I'm switching to dark chocolate. However, I still sometimes make myself a hot cocoa, hot chocolate actually, with like really like a whole piece of a chocolate bar. The whole chocolate bar. So I'm not sure how healthy that is, but I'm generally eating less sweets with every year. I just don't really feel the same sort of thing as I used to eating sweets in my childhood, but I do enjoy them. I just don't want to eat them so much. I suppose I like some occasion. I need an occasion to eat something sweet, I suppose. So tonight this is a nice occasion, I suppose. So, well, let's start with our list now. My first question in our series of nerdy questions for tonight is: who is your favorite doctor? Who is your favorite doctor? Is it Tennant, Smith, or Capaldi, or Eccleston? Now, I'm kind of taking the OG doctors here in this question, so I think it's a bit too early to sort of discuss the new doctors. And also, I haven't really watched the recent series because I just don't have too much extra time. But yeah, I know that the latest Doctor is the guy who played in a series called Sex Education, right? I really, really like the guy. I think he actually kind of fits the role of the Doctor perfectly, but I still have, yet to watch the series with him. But yeah. So, who's your favorite Doctor from the old ones, right? Tennant, Smith, Capaldi, or maybe Eccleston? What do you think? For me, honestly, I guess, some people say that their favorite Doctor is the first Doctor that they see. And I thought that was false for some time, because I actually started watching Doctor Who from Christopher Eccleston's portrayal of the Doctor, his, I guess, incarnation, and I really liked the guy. And then when David Tennant came to be the next one, I thought, oh my god, this is the one, right? So he was just born to play this role, this sort of quirky, weird, but also very intelligent, sort of like he's like in a constant state of eureka, right? And I do think this is a cool trait about David Tennant's portrayal of the Doctor. He always, he's like this, like, oh my god, kind of thing, right? Which I like, and I think the episodes written for David Tennant were quite smart and were kind of, nicely written, and really like, generally, I do like all the writing for Doctor Who. And now, I actually kind of, I disagreed with some people who said that, oh, your favorite Doctor is the Doctor you watched first. And then I remembered that I actually saw David Tennant playing the Doctor when I randomly tuned into some TV channel in my childhood. And I tuned in just in time for probably one of the most famous episodes of Doctor Who with David Tennant, which is I think, episode called The Impossible Planet. About basically, I don't remember, was it a planet? I think it was some sort of a big asteroid going on an orbit around a black hole, which is a great concept, I think, right, to talk about. I don't even remember, was it like on orbit? Because I guess that's possible, right? It's possible to be on an orbit around a black hole, I guess. But I think it was just not falling into the black hole, I guess, right? Just staying in place, which is a bit weird, right? How does it work? But well, it's interesting. So it's sci-fi, whatever. Now, so that was my first experience with the franchise, and so I do think that maybe this idea that the Doctor you watched the first will be your favorite, but like I don't have anything to kind of disprove it, but I suppose, well, you can like whatever you like. So yeah. So my girlfriend likes Capaldi. And I genuinely understand why. He's an amazing actor, and he is an amazing Doctor as well. But I would just say that he is a bit kind of, what should I say, like, not too serious, but he is sort of a bit like depressing in some way. He's more serious, I guess. He's more solemn, I guess that's the word. And David Tennant was very dramatic. It's not like he was like a comic relief of a character. No, definitely not. I mean, Matt Smith was more of a goofball, I guess. So yeah, but David Tennant was amazing. But I think that David Tennant still kind of managed to incorporate this childish nature into the character of Doctor Who, right? So that was a great thing as well. So I guess, yeah, that will be my answer. David Tennant is my favorite Doctor. But I am open to having my mind changed. So, Right. Next question is quite a controversial one, I guess. Do you like the prequels to Star Wars? The prequels to Star Wars. What do you think? What do you think about that? Do you want another piece of chocolate, maybe? Do you want that? Just, no? Alright, you're good. Sure. Okay, well, Star Wars prequels. I do like the prequels. I really don't like the sequels, though there are some cool things in those, but genuinely I just think that they lack a coherent story. I just thought that it was a missed opportunity to sort of get back together all the original cast of characters. And I suppose the right thing to do was actually to just... Well, I mean, it was kind of right to continue the story of the family of Skywalkers. But it was sort of organized in a strange way. I do like some of the modern TV shows and TV series based on the Star Wars setting. design of it. It's quite great. So yeah. But the prequels, you know, when I was a kid, I actually watched Star Wars from episode 1 to episode 6, so in chronological order, so I did miss certain things, as in, like, obviously, well, the whole plot twist about Darth Vader, right? I missed that. I didn't have such a surprise because I knew that already. But I sort of received this kind of I sort of was surprised because I had known about the character of Darth Vader before I watched Star Wars. I had seen him, and so, like, well, obviously when I realized who Darth Vader was, trying to avoid spoilers here, in episode 3, I was still surprised, right? So I was like, oh my god, holy. So yeah, it was pretty dramatic as well. Okay, let's go to the next question. What is your favorite D&D class to play? That's a good question. What's your favorite one? Do you have one? Maybe a couple? I would probably say that I really like playing a paladin, to be honest. And actually, well, I can tell you who my favorite character is that I played. My favorite character was a Warforged paladin called Teapot. And it was a wordplay on the word teapot, right? A teapot. But he was a teapot, right? With a D, with a voiced D at the end, right? I know it's kind of difficult to, do voiced sounds, voiced consonants in an ASMR video with whispers, but, teapot, T-O-P-O-T. What? Okay. So, he was a Warforged paladin that also sort of had like a multiple personality disorder, where he would switch from like a sort of a noble paladin, classic noble kind of, hero guy, and then he would be like a very like naive kid or something, and then a very kind of fussy Englishman, right? So that was my way of playing him. I don't know, but I sort of switched him because we were playing like our campaign in like Planescape, so we would travel around different planes, and I thought that, like, when I would cross to a different plane, I would change my character's personality a bit, I think that was because I actually, I originally I kind of forgot that I was playing him in a different way, and sort of then I thought like, oh well, I can sort of do this little twist, and then I remembered, like, about the way I was playing him. So I was originally playing him as this like naive kind of kid character, because he was like not very socialized after the Great War in Eberron. I will tell you about my D&D characters at some point, and I will definitely have a video about like funny D&D stories that I've had happen to me and to my players. Now, generally, when I play D&D, I am playing the role of the DM, right? So I don't actually have much experience in playing classes, but I did like playing the paladin. I think it was straightforward. It was fun. You could do damage, you could do some spells, and you had some cool utility spells as well, and you felt like you could do a lot of things, which I really like about that class. So what's yours? Post it in the comments, right? I have played some ranger, I have played some like sorcerer as well. Not much else though, unfortunately. Funny enough, I've never had a person play a warrior in my campaigns. I think maybe I had only once, but the person sort of didn't really continue playing. It was kind of over after one session, and it just didn't work out, that was alright. So yeah, like never had warriors. I think people just think, oh, the warrior is too general, too generic, and I don't know. So yeah, it's funny. Some people say that's like the most common class that people play. Not sure. But I've had barbarians, I've had rangers, warlocks, many warlocks, some mages, some paladins, some rogues, but not many warriors. Not many druids as well. I've had, I think, one druid for some reason. So right. Okay, next question. If you could have any superpower, what would it be? Yeah, what do you think? Have you thought about this? There are many things to choose from, right? It's like, well, some people say it's like maybe immortality or something, right? But I think that's a bad superpower. I think that's a horrible one, to be honest. It's like a curse, really. I mean, it's like you need to kind of put down the phrase like controlled something, controlled immortality. But the problem is that if it's controlled, then I guess you have to be conscious of it. So like while you're sleeping, it might not work. You're not immortal while you're sleeping, so that doesn't really work too well. And also, like, are you immortal, but can you still feel pain? Okay, let's keep it chill, right? Let's not go into like hardcore stuff here. But I don't know. I think flying is a cool superpower, but only if it's like levitation, and you can sort of easily control the speed that you're going, right? But that's great. I mean, it's always, it's great. Although quite dangerous, I guess, but well, it's fun. Again, the super strength, I guess it's pretty useful as well. Being healthy, I guess that's a good superpower. Just, you're healthy, that's great, right? Enjoy your life without any kind of side effects of, being not healthy, or that's lovely, who would disagree with this, right? I don't know, reading people's minds, people might say, right? But I think that's also kind of tricky. Do you really want to know what people's thoughts are? I'm not sure. I mean, just generally, right? I mean, what's the fun in that, right? Like, what the fun is in sort of talking to people and trying to understand them, and that's how you learn who you are and find your own thoughts somewhere. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I mean, if we talk about like favorite characters from like comic books, right? I don't know who my favorite character would be actually, but I mean, of course, I kind of like Spider-Man, the classic one, right? Really like Batman. I do really like the character of like Scarlet Witch, for example, as well. I really like how she was, how her character was done in the Avengers and in the Marvel movies. I do like that. Although there was some controversy with some movies, but I genuinely think that it was a fun character. It's fun to watch this, so it works for me. So yeah, I don't know. Superpower. I think, health, right? Good health. That's a great superpower, I suppose. Next question is, do you prefer Star Trek or Star Wars? Now, I think, honestly, like, people ask this question quite a lot. And I don't think this is a good question to ask, because I don't really think they are in the same category. And I honestly enjoy both. But I watch these things for different things, right? Like, I enjoy different things about both of these franchises. So when I watch Star Wars, I just relax, I just watch it. I like to remember my childhood and watching Star Wars for the first time. My favorite episode, by the way, is episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. I think it's probably the greatest episode, because it's got everything. It's got lightsaber duels, it's got different planets, different environments, it's got cool sequences like that asteroid sequence, do you remember? And a lot of stuff. So yeah, it's got everything. It's got Yoda, it's got, Vader, and this whole drama between, Han Solo and Leia and Luke, and R2-D2 screaming in the swamp. What more do you need, right? But Star Trek is another thing. Now, I do like Star Trek for exploring different things about human society and psyche and psychology and ethics, and that's what I kind of am most interested in when I watch it. And I think it's an amazing TV show, and Patrick Stewart, of course. So I do like the new generation, although I haven't watched many episodes, to be honest. So I'm not, and of course I really like Data as well. Data is the greatest. I haven't watched many episodes, of course I haven't watched all of them, but I have watched some, and I actually enjoyed all of them. Like, it's also like some very comforting piece of media for me to watch and to consume. So yeah, let's see. Next question is, which Hogwarts house do you belong to? I guess, which Hogwarts house would you go to, right? I should say. Would you choose, right? Which is the favorite Hogwarts house, basically. So, I like this. I did like this one. I mean, we've got 4, right? So, Gryffindor is, well, so, what is special about the Gryffindorians, right, is that, well, they're brave, they're quite smart, they're courageous, I guess, right, we should say. Ravenclaws, right, they are very smart. Slytherins are slithery, shady, I guess, and very cunning. I suppose that's a good thing, right? So, another type of intelligence as well, I guess, but generally just evil, I guess that's what we should say. And just chill dudes, right? Chill people, and can cook, I guess, quite well. And I don't know. I think, like, I would like to be friends with people from Hufflepuff. They're like just nice people. They're not arrogant. They're not just dangerous to be around. They're not too geeky, I guess, or they will not like correct you every I say actually, right? So they're not like Ravenclaws, because I do feel that being a friend of a Ravenclaw student is something like that. Like they will always just correct you on stuff and everything. So yeah, maybe I am a bit like a Ravenclaw student. I don't know. Although not being smart, right? That's the problem, I guess. So I don't know. I think I would probably belong to. Oh my god. I am not that chill, to be honest, to be in Hufflepuff. I do, unfortunately, think that I actually kind of belong to Gryffindor. I wouldn't say that I'm very courageous, but let's just say I have an active life position. I like to I like to live my life. I like to do things, I like to create things. So there's a mix of everything. It's quite an eclectic house. It's not kind of specialized in one thing. I think that's the idea. And I guess Slytherin is also the thing, but it's just the evil counterpart, right, to Gryffindor. So yeah. So it's interesting. I don't know. I think Gryffindor is actually okay. I mean, I probably, some people would have said to me that I belong to Ravenclaw. I don't feel that I am, like intelligence is my strong suit. I wouldn't say so, but I guess I am okay. I just don't feel like that's the house that I belong to. Although I don't know, maybe people are right. Who knows, right? All right. Well, you can be the judge, right, for that. It's all right. Let's do the next one. What is your favorite video game of all time? What is your favorite video game of all time? Video game. It's interesting. I like different games. Games that I was obsessed with at the time. And I'm not really obsessed with games now, to be honest, apart from probably D&D. I was obsessed with Skyrim. I was obsessed with WoW, World of Warcraft. Was obsessed with Hearthstone. I did like some of the Blizzard games. I did play some Diablo as well. In my childhood, I really liked Heroes of Might and Magic 3 and 5. These were my favorite parts. So they were great. Nowadays, if I play Heroes of Might and Magic, I do play the third one. Because I really like retro games in general. I generally really like this kind of old-time aesthetic, right? Retro aesthetic from like the 90s. So yeah. Now, one game that I regularly come back to is Minecraft, which is probably one of the best games of all time. And yeah, now I also have a controversial opinion on Minecraft, which is, so I started playing when it was beta 1.8, and people who have played Minecraft can, they know that, or who have been playing Minecraft for a long time, I should say, they know that that was the version of the game where they introduced the hunger system and the sprinting system for the first 1.7.3 beta, and I just fell in love with it. It was the perfect game at the time. A lot of things were different. It didn't have hunger, it didn't have sprinting. The world looked different, the generation was different, but it looked very, very cozy and very authentic, I should say. You know, it felt like Minecraft knew where it was going at the time. Sort of with the whole idea of the game, right? Everything seemed consistent and made sense as game mechanics, but then Minecraft slowly started turning into more of an RPG from like a sandbox game. And I wouldn't say that's a bad thing, but I would love to turn it all off and just play it like it was in beta 1.7.3 and before that. And I actually have been playing a mod pack which is called Reminiscence, and it sort of tries to bring back these things into the game, right? So it turns off the hunger, turns off sprinting, turns off some biomes, right? It kind of introduces the older kind of generation mechanics, but not quite, because it still looks a bit too modern. But it's got an amazing amount of mods, and you can do so much things there. But I also really, really like a mod pack called Better Than Adventure, which basically takes the beta 1.7.3 and develops it in like an alternative reality type of thing. Like, what could have happened if there had been no adventure update? And they're doing a great job there. So they have recently actually posted a new version where they have updated the Nether, and that was great. I mean, it feels like a great continuation of a game without it feels authentic. All the textures feel authentic, all the mechanics feel authentic, although they have changed some stuff. But I do think that it suits the game quite well. But I also just enjoy playing the old 1.7.3 beta version with maybe some tweaks for the graphics. So there is a mod pack called Better Beta, which you can find on like the Prism launcher and some other stuff, and basically it fixes certain bugs. It also adds a lot of cool settings for the graphics and different like mip map options and smoothing of the picture. So it works great. So I've been playing that as well, and that's like a basic experience, but it's really fun. And you can play on like beta 1.7.3 servers that are still going, so some people still play it, and there's a whole community called Golden Age Minecraft of people who actually play these old versions and play together, and it's amazing. It's really fun. It's great. And they're very nice people as well. Like, you might join a server and the server has no plugins for like griefing and stuff. People just are nice and they play together, play the game as intended. They build stuff, they don't really grief, or not usually at least, and it's an amazing experience. So yeah, alright. If you could live in any fantasy world, which one would you choose? That's a tough one. I have to say, I kind of like the Middle Earth, because I do think that, well, I would love to be like a hobbit, right? I think living in the Shire is just cozy, and you can, just enjoy the fields and have nice food and probably a lot of tea. wizards walking into your town. So I do like that. I do think the Shire, and Middle Earth would be a cool place to live in. Of course, generally there is evil, like Mordor, right? But I kind of like it. I like the fact that the source of evil is clear in the Middle Earth. It's not like a grey character. Sauron is evil. And I don't see it as a bad thing. I think it's absolutely fine to have grey characters, who are, I guess, sympathetic in some way, but evil still. But I also think that having just morally black characters is great. So yeah. Now, of course, if you talk about like D&D, we've got like Forgotten Realms and we've got Greyhawk. We've got like different settings there. I do like Greyhawk better because, well, the main difference between like Forgotten Realms and Greyhawk is that Forgotten Realms are more towards the fantasy archetype, and Greyhawk is more towards the medieval archetype, right? And I do like that. But still, Greyhawk is pretty good. I don't know, actually. Well, to be honest, Forgotten Realms do seem to be nicer to live in. As in, like, they have better infrastructure. Stuff like that, but I don't know. I know you can say Star Wars, right? It's also like a fantasy setting, I guess. But it's got too much stuff, and some of it's quite horrible. Definitely not Warhammer, though. Would want to live in this reality. But yeah. So Middle Earth, I think it's a good one. Let's see what we got else. Oh, by the way, on the topic of this, the next question is, who is your favorite fictional villain? That's a good one. Need to think about that. Although I've prepared these questions, I did generate some of them, so I'm actually I didn't think about them too much. That's a tough one, actually. It is a tough one. I mean, I do like, I'm thinking like comic books, I'm thinking literature, but the villain, that's a tough one. I mean, it's very tough. Well, like, I gotta say, I kinda don't wanna go with something generic. But yeah, and also, some characters that I can think of are not really villains. I really like the Kingpin from the Daredevil franchise and from the Daredevil TV series specifically. I think he's an amazing villain, and the actor who plays him, I forgot his name, but it's an amazing thing, an amazing portrayal of the Kingpin. That's just what the character should be. He's very evil, but very sympathetic, very cool. I think that's a good answer, actually. I really like the Kingpin. I wouldn't say that I really like Thanos, or or the Joker, or the Emperor. I guess Darth Vader is a good villain as well. He's an interesting one, at least, or I really like the design of him. I don't know. maybe like something from anime, though I don't really know. I haven't really watched like many anime series. We might come back to that, so we'll see. Okay. Next question is, do you prefer Marvel or DC? I gotta go with Marvel, I suppose. Because, I don't know, I like the Marvel characters better. The DC is great, but I do like specifically certain characters from DC, and when I read about them, I kind of wish they existed in their own bubble. Like, for example, when I read about Batman, I don't really want to mix him up with Superman, although it's an amazing duo, right? And the Justice League is great, but I just feel like the characters are so powerful that it's sort of, I don't know, it is less interesting for me. However, Batman being, a mortal man is really fun, and I have a comic book called Batman The Long Halloween, and which I might be showing on Halloween, I guess. Maybe this year to you, and maybe we can do some reading, or actually I can also do some. Well, I've got another thing to show you for Halloween, but we'll see. I really like the villains in the Batman, right? Every single one of them. I mean, you got Mr. Freeze, the Joker, the Riddler, right? The Calendar Man. Some other guys. The guy who could shapeshift, right? That was a cool one. And Two-Face, and that's great. Bane. All of them are great. Poison Ivy, Black Cat. Oh no, actually, it wasn't the Black Cat. Black Cat is the Spider-Man, right? So it's Catwoman. Catwoman was from DC, right? I did confuse these. So yeah, I do like Batman just as a separate kind of thing. But I will have to go with Marvel, because in Marvel you actually like when all the heroes meet and sort of act together. I do think that's cool. But I would say if I had to choose my favorite character from Marvel, I would say it's probably Daredevil. To like him. He is, it's just a great concept. You're making this kind of character who is blind, not really blind, but also is like a Catholic Christian. And there is a lot of sort of guilt trips that he goes on, and it's great. I have another comic book actually called Daredevil Born Again, I think, or was it called Apocalypse or something like that, Armageddon, but it's basically, now I'm confusing. Born Again was the TV show. I keep confusing everything, but it basically, well, if you have watched this Daredevil TV show before the continuation now, the third season was basically inspired by this comic book that I'm talking about, where he kind of, something happens to Matt Murdock, and he goes on this kind of this journey where he basically loses everything and everybody, and has to survive and has to find his way back, which is great. It's an amazing story, and I really like the comic book, although the comic book is not, well, it's got some weak points, but the series is great actually, so it's really fun. And next question is, if you could wield any legendary weapon from fiction, what would it be? Any legendary weapon from fiction? Oh, that's a great one. A weapon. Well, what weapons do I remember? I can remember Frostmourne from Warcraft, Arthas's sword, right? I can remember Mjolnir and Stormbreaker, Thor's weapons, right? Is Sonic Screwdriver a weapon? I don't know, a tool. We can say some tools maybe. Just like Spider-Man's web slingers, right? What else? I'm just trying to think. I mean, probably a lightsaber would be great. Would be very cool, you know. Just to have it, but I would kind of be afraid to use it because I mean it's very dangerous. Literally, like, you know, hot plasma. So I mean, it would require a lot of care to use it. And also, I have long hair. I don't think that works too well with a sword made out of plasma, burning plasma. I wouldn't say that's a good one. So yeah, probably a lightsaber then. Yeah, I don't know. Let's take another chocolate piece. That's pretty tough, to be honest. I mean, a lightsaber is a good answer, so I'll stick with that. Oh, it's very good. It's very nice. I do think Russian chocolate is actually pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, I've tried many. But it is solid. It's like a 7 out of 10, I would say. So yeah. Okay. What is your go-to board game for game night? To be honest, I would say that one of the best games I've ever played was Sheriff of Nottingham, right? That was an amazing game to play. It's always fun to play it. Now, I've got to say that I don't really like games with a lot of rules. And some people might say, like, well, you're playing D&D, isn't that a game with a lot of rules? Yeah, but to be able to play it, you don't need to know many rules. You just need to know the fact that, like, you want to do something, roll the die. Does your action have anything to do with these stats, like, you know, strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, or charisma? Well, yeah, sort of. Well, okay, then you can add your bonus, right, as the general rule. D&D is quite simple. If you play it like any, you know, TTRPG is basically pretty simple in this case. It can get complicated, and that's cool, but it still builds around the same concept. So that's why I do like it, and I wouldn't say it's very complicated or difficult to grasp. And Sheriff of Nottingham, it would be my game like that, because I'm hiccuping, I'm sorry. Because again, it doesn't require a lot of preparation, and you can play it and it's fun. You can, you know, just have a go with it. It's fun, you know, you lie to everybody. You can kind of, you know, so the idea of this game is that I'll give you some context, I guess. You are consequently playing the role of the sheriff in a town called Nottingham, and there are some merchants who are the other players who will try to bring some goods into the city, and the goods are some of the cards that they are dealt randomly, right? And so of course, like, people need to get some, like, groupings of cards, so they can, for example, take, you know, like, I think 5 cards smuggle. That's it. They can smuggle contraband over to the town, right, and get more money from that. And basically, you need to go through the customs, I guess, right, through the sheriff, who might check your goods or let you pass. And of course, if he checks your goods and you have some contraband, you will have to pay a fee. But if you don't, and if you have all the goods that you mentioned, then the sheriff has to pay you a fine for like emotional distress or something. So it's pretty funny, and it's always fun to play, and it's simple. You can play it very quickly, and maybe go at different rounds and go a couple of rounds. I do like the game called Everyone is John, which is also a role-playing game. The problem is it's not that social as the other ones. So yeah, Munchkin is pretty fun. People do hate it or love it. I do like it because, again, it's fun. But the problem is that Munchkin is this sort of game where it's a race game, but it's like a political game basically. So you can like make alliances, and there are no rules basically for making alliances. You can just all group up against one person who is winning. So the person who is winning first, at least originally, person who is in the lead at first will probably lose the game, and the person who is in the lead, going second, right, will take the lead and probably win the game. So that's why, it's tricky. But I do think the Munchkin is quite fun to play still, and it's just, it's a nice trope of like going through a dungeon, killing monsters, getting loot, and it's great. That's why I love D&D as well. So yeah. So I would say Sheriff on Nottingham. That's my favorite That's my go-to board game for game night. Don't like Mafia, by the way. I wouldn't consider it a board game as well. Yeah. Okay. Let's do a couple more questions. Have you ever played a tabletop RPG other than D&D? Other than D&D? I have, actually. I've played Call of Cthulhu, which I would say is in some ways a superior version of D&D, specifically because it focuses on the roleplay idea of the game. Now, I don't really play it too much because I do like playing with miniatures and playing with terrain and stuff like this. And in Call of Cthulhu, you don't really need that, but that's a good thing about it, is that you can fully kind of immerse yourself through the theater of the mind and bring out some handouts and bring out some candles and just enjoy, the roleplay idea of a role-playing game, right? But I don't know. Also, I guess it's quite fun to make one-shot adventures or like two-shot adventures for Call of Cthulhu, because, well, you kind of understand, and it's sort of socially acceptable at the table that the characters will probably die at the end of the session or will go nuts. And so it's kind of fun. You can do a lot of crazy stuff there, but still, make it interesting and make it kind of, it's a detective game, but also an adventure game. So that's cool. So Call of Cthulhu, that's another one. Also, Everyone is John again. I've played that. I don't really remember anything else. Okay. If you had to pick a sci-fi spaceship to travel in, which one would it be? I do like the Millennium Falcon. Honestly, it seems very cozy. Probably not a very good choice though, because it is still quite cramped. But it's cool. Well, if you have a good pilot, this is a great one as well. What else do we have? The Death Star. Maybe, I don't know, it doesn't seem very nice and cozy there. So I wouldn't probably choose this. Yeah, that's interesting. I would probably, well, I guess the TARDIS. TARDIS is the best one out of all of them. So yeah, it's got a lot of space because it's bigger on the inside than the outside, and it's still sort of, well, you know, you can live there basically quite comfortably and just go. I'm yawning again, sorry. I was yawning through the whole previous video, now I'm yawning in this one, sorry. So I would still say that, I mean, it's a great one, you know, it can go anywhere and anytime, so that's great. TARDIS would be my answer, I guess. What about you? Yeah, comment about that. Okay, what is your favorite anime series? I have just watched Attack on Titan, which was amazing. It was a great series. Although a bit depressing, which is my only criticism of it. I do think it could have been a bit more lighthearted, although it was a good contrast to many animes that I had watched previously, like Naruto and things like that. I also really like the Death Note. I think it's also a masterpiece of a TV series, although second season was a bit kind of more, maybe more complicated, but I mean, it's great, right? You've got a great ending, a great story. Not much to say here, amazing characters. Attack on Titan was great, was really fun to watch as well. So yeah. What else? I'm just trying to think. I really liked Naruto, I have to say. I actually, you know, like, I found myself watching some Dragon Ball Z or Z recently because I just wanted to watch something in the background, and I actually found myself really enjoying some of the episodes. My only criticism with the Dragon Ball Z series is that, for example, I started watching it, right? And you are introduced with the main characters, and you follow them around, and you watch what happens to them. There is some drama, some cool stuff, and then you spend like the whole sort of season preparing for the final meeting between the, you know, Goku and you know, the bad guy, whatever his name is. But the problem is that this fight lasts forever. It just lasts eternity. It just never ends. And I just started skipping through it. Like, you know, I was watching quite closely before that. Like, every single episode was actually sort of fun. And there were some cool stories, just like an absurdist sort of fantasy. But then this fight, it lasted forever, so I just started skipping it. And I mean, I guess it is possible to enjoy it like that, but it was just so long. Every single character had like another card up their sleeve, and they would constantly just do it. And so I'm just thinking, like, should I continue watching it? I don't know, but it was still fun, and I was doing some other stuff while watching that, so it was okay for me to just have it in the background and enjoy it. I do like the art style as well, and like the old vibe of it. So yeah. So right, okay. Well, yeah, we are kind of coming close to the end here. Let's see. What was the first nerdy thing you fell in love with? What was the first nerdy thing you fell in love with? Okay, for me, my introduction to sort of, I would say it's a bit nerdy, was when I basically seeing brick films for the first time. Now, brick films are stop motion animation videos made with Lego, and well, I mean, you probably know how stop motion works, but you know, that's these sort of animations. And I remember watching some quite simple but quite cool animations of like brick films of like I think it was like Lego Half-Life, and then like Lego Spider-Man, and these animations were not very professional, but they were very fun to watch, and a like 8 or 9-year-old me was just fascinated with this idea. So I tried to do it myself, and I started doing this, and I started recording stuff and showing it to my friends, and it was a blast. It was great. You know, I actually wanted to become a director at the time. Then I sort of thought that it's not really an education prospect that I want to follow. If I become a director, I would do it by myself. I would just be an indie director. Don't want to work with a studio. I would probably just make. I have an idea for a movie actually. At some point in the future, I might make it. But that's not that's not some career path that I want to follow. So no. But in my childhood, that was something, I guess, quite nerdy that I was obsessed with, and you can imagine, you know, it being quite nerdy. I mean, you sit literally for hours on end moving your Lego minifigures and building stuff, making scenes and recording this and editing this. It took a long time, and I guess maybe I am a bit unusual in this way, because, you know, usually a lot of kids, especially nowadays, it seems like in this fast-flowing world, we don't have very long attention span, so it's kind of difficult to stay concentrated on one thing for a long time. But I was able to do that, and it was actually quite fun. So yeah, that was my nerdy thing. Share your nerdy things. What was something nerdy that you were doing in your maybe childhood or teenage years? Would love to hear that, and thank you all for coming. Now, if you'd like to see some more videos like that, maybe with some other questions, please like this video. Would love you to subscribe to the channel as well. If you'd like to show some support, please do. And you can write your questions maybe in the comments, and I would love to read them and discuss them in another video like that. So thank you so much for coming. I'll see you in the next video. Have a good night.